6 of your guidebook on how to survive missions starts now. And we're here actually full travel for this very unique chapter of how to survive missions, going 8,191 miles east from TCS Films HQ to the African country of Uganda. However, that's not where we meet our next interviewee. We actually travel 8,724 miles west of Uganda to a little Canadian city of North Vancouver, British Columbia, where we meet our next interviewee, our next guest, I should say, Kaitlyn Burke. Nice to see you once again. I gotta tell you though, how we met was very unique, I should say. We actually got connected by a Duncan. His name is not Josh, sorry. But do you care to reflect real quickly on how we connected?
Yeah. Well, I met you because you know the story, but tell everyone else.
Yeah.
Through Greg Duncan, as you said, Duncan, and Greg. I met Greg separately, and he coached a track team, and which Caleb belonged to, and so it was great. That's how I track and field basketball and got involved with coaching him, and yeah, so that's really where our relationship started, and it was great. And I've known you now for three or 4 years now. It's crazy.
I'm trying to remember. I think you were a sophomore in college. You went to UNL, am I correct? University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were a sophomore, so to calculate the things, you're now graduates. This is your first year into the quote-unquote real world. So, math, yeah, I'd say probably about 4 years in probably a few weeks.
Yeah.
So, I don't have the exact week on me, but I know it's pretty close to that. First off, Jinja Outreach. Define and explain.
Well, so when I say we, I'm saying Lane Reeves, Thomas Grove, and myself.
Oh, stop, cease, desist. Stop in mid-sentence.
Okay.
Lane, I know this Lane apparently. She was part of Jinja?
She was, yes.
How did this happen? Okay, sorry I'm off on a tangent.
No, that's okay.
How in the world? How was she involved? I was not ever indicated about this.
Yeah, the three of us went on the trip together. So, yeah, the three of us went. You know Lane, and yeah, but we went to a tiny town in Uganda called Jinja, and that's why we called it Jinja Outreach, because we weren't quite sure which organization that we were going to go through when we started our fundraising for the trip, and so we just called ourselves the Jinja Outreach Group, because we knew that we were going to Jinja, Uganda, and we knew that we wanted to help and reach out to the people there. So that's why we kind of called it that. But we ended up going through an organization called Arise Africa International. And yeah, I'm sure you'll get into it, but it was an amazing experience.
Now, I'm gonna start you off of this question. Why Jinja of all places?
Yeah.
Jinja, Uganda, that is.
That's a really good question. We knew that we wanted to go to Africa, and we weren't sure which country that we wanted to go to originally. And at first it was just Lane and myself. We were going to go. And so what we did is we wanted to seek out an organization that we really related with, and that their goals and our goals really connected and resonated with one another. And so we found Arise Africa International, and they are based out of Jinja, Uganda. And they have, where we actually stayed for the majority of the time was a little town called Bukaleba. And it's in a tiny remote village. Yeah, tiny remote village about an hour and a half away from Jinja, which is the second largest city in Uganda, actually. And yeah, so that's why we chose there.
Thing you did, number one. Go.
The first thing we did when we got there. Is that what you want?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things we did actually, yeah, the first day we went to the primary school and to the baby's home, and we met and interacted with the kids. And it's just incredible. I know that all three of us learned so much from all the amazing people that we met, and are so blessed and fortunate that we got to meet them, because they really helped us with our lives. You know, a lot of people said to us before we were going, and when we got back, they're like, you know, it's so great what you're doing. You're helping so many people. But yes, we went there with the goal of being able to help in some way, but really they were the ones that changed our lives and helped us. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't really realize when they go on mission trips and when they go to different parts of the world, is that really the people that you meet there are going to be the ones that are going to have an incredible impact on your life. And we're just really fortunate that we got to experience that.
Don't you think, though, it's kind of a two-way street almost? Like you're making a difference in their lives and the other way around, like you just mentioned?
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, sometimes we might be able to provide something that they need. Something, one of the things at the secondary school that we did, we were able to provide them with a sports complex. And that's something that we could provide for them, but in turn they provided so much more to us. And it really is, like you said, mentioned, it's a two-way street, and it's a beautiful thing to see and be a part of.
So continuing on, you met the kids and did some activities on day one. Continue on the days and weeks going on. What were the major activities going forward?
Yeah, like I mentioned, one of our goals that we sought out to do was to be able to provide a sports complex for the secondary school. And this is something that the organization had talked with us about, and all three of us that went on the trip, like I had mentioned, were all played for the University of Nebraska. So Thomas played football for Nebraska, and Lane and I played basketball. And so obviously sports has been a major part of our lives, and that was something that they were in great need of. You know, just sports equipment and playing fields. They were playing soccer. We got there and we saw the fields, and they were playing soccer with trees in the middle of their field and roots sticking up, and these kids running around in bare feet, and they're just playing soccer. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was provide them with the sports complex. So what we ended up doing is we had a dozer come in and cleared the fields and planted fresh grass. And before we left, they were gonna get some concrete, so they concrete down for a basketball court, and that was one of the major activities that we had done. And we put on a sports day basically for them. We had taught them throughout the week different sports. We taught them American football, volleyball, that's their soccer. Obviously, they know soccer, and just different sports that
handball?
They hadn't played. Pardon?
Handball?
Not handball. Ah. We did teach them basketball, of course. We had to. But so yeah, it was just really fun, and just teaching them the rules of the game. And then we had a big day at the end where we had a big competition. Put all the different houses. They had different houses, shirt colors, and so each house played against each other, and it was really fun. And we had medals and trophies for the teams and the participants. So that was nice. One thing that was really fun.
So let's go backwards a little bit. I want to focus on basically, first off, sports complex. I'm assuming this is an outdoor complex?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So first I was thinking indoor, and then some things you mentioned kind of screamed outdoor to me. So I was wanting to clarify for our viewers who may be used to sports complexes being indoors. Okay. So this clinic thing was just for 1 week, or did you do this in multiple places?
No, the clinic lasted about 2 weeks, and then the other time we spent at the baby's home with the children, and that was not sport related. We did play some games and stuff with those kids, but we mostly did crafts with the kids, and we went into Jinja a few times to take some of the children to the hospital. And so we yeah, we really got to know all the kids, and especially at the baby's home, you know, we'd visit there at least once a day, just because they were maybe, I'd say maybe 400 meters from where we were staying. So just going to see them every single day, and it's really hard to see, just because some of the basic needs these kids don't have, and all they want is to be loved and to know the Lord, and to really get to know Him. And it's quite amazing to see, because these kids, they never complain, they never whine, they never ask for anything, and yet they're so incredibly happy with what they do have. And it's pretty amazing to see. And we especially saw that one day we took them to a fair in Jinja, and just seeing the kids, they never once asked for any of the candy that was there, any of the toys that was given away. You know, they were just so grateful just to be there, and to go on the swings, for example, to go look at the animals and just be there. And it's just, it kind of gets me choked up even just talking about it, just because they're so incredibly, I don't know, they don't really need, they just want to be loved, and they don't need anything, any material items to be happy. They just need to know that the Lord is always there and will always be there for him or her, and that they have a lot of people that love and care for them. So
you actually kind of stole my thunder there, because I was just about to get to that, and you jumped there before even I got there.
Sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine. We're here. We might as well stay here. You went to the hospitals. Are there any one or two children that kind of stick out to you in memory, in retrospect?
Yeah, I think all of them really do stick out to me, just because, you know, we were there for a month and got to know them pretty well. But, you know, of course, there's a few children that you're going to grow a special bond with. And I know that all three of us grew a special bond with different children. And for me, there were 3 or 4 little young kids that really that I think about on a daily basis, and that, you know, I pray for all the kids there, but especially for them. And so yeah, there's definitely a few that kind of stick out for me.
Because I remember one thing, I was doing interview prep, and there was one in particular, and I don't exactly remember his name. I have it somewhere on the old iPod. Elijah, yes. Because I think he had some medical problems, but somehow kind of was able to pull through. Is that right?
Yeah. So actually, it's an interesting story. So baby Elijah came to us, and he came to the baby's home. He was dropped off. I think it was our 3rd day of actually being there, and he was dropped off by his grandmother, and the family couldn't take care of the little boy. And when we first saw him, we thought he was maybe 3 weeks old, but it turns out that he was 3 months old. He was just so malnourished that he was so frail, and just, you could see his ribs coming out of his little tiny body, and the way he would just gasp for air was just, you wanted to do everything in your power just to be able to help him. And so we all kind of, all 3 of us there, and Daisha, who was with us the whole time, she actually lives there, our host, yeah, and we all just kind of gravitated towards him, and he got sick. He got pretty sick when we were there, and got worse. We had to take him to the hospital, and I remember Elaine and I were in the back seat with one of the aunties was holding him, and we were in the back seat, and it was, we both looked at each other, and we looked at him, and his, you know, we both, Elaine and I, thought that we were going to lose him on that day and on the way to the hospital. And he was just trying to fight, and that's the biggest thing, is that he is just a fighter. And, you know, all of us prayed for him, prayed over him, and knew that, you know, he was going to be okay. That something that God had a plan, and that something was going to happen, and a miracle was going to happen. And there's an organization there that took him in, who works with malnourished babies, and they took him in and cared for him. And a few months later, we found out, and we saw pictures of him, and he wasn't this tiny little frail baby anymore. He was chubby and happy and healthy, and it was just an incredible transformation to see, and knowing that, you know, we went from being in the car where we thought that we were going to lose him to him playing with other kids and being happy and healthy, and it's just incredible.
I gotta get me that diet. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that, wow. How much verbal prayer was heard or said on the way to the hospital when he was that deathly ill?
Most of it was silent prayer.
Okay.
Just because a lot of us were to ourselves at this point, just because we were pretty emotional. But yeah, there was some prayer that was said out loud, but mostly it was just us kind of touching him and holding his tiny little fingers and just saying a prayer or two for him. And when he was in the hospital, just leaning over his bed. I know all of us individually went over there and just said a little prayer for him, and God is great.
I hate to all of a sudden spring what could be a selfish question to you, but what exactly did you, per se, learn from all of this?
No, I think that's an important question to ask. But I learned a lot, and the biggest thing that changed, I think, from going there to the time I left was just how much my faith grew. And there were so many times where I just turned to my faith and knew that it was going to be okay, because I'm a person that I want to see other people be okay and to help other people. And so for me, I sometimes might get a little emotional when I see, like I had mentioned with Elijah going to the hospital. And so all I did was I just turned and knew that, God has a plan for everyone. Mm-hmm. And he, if he's ready to take someone to his kingdom, then, then it's time, and it's meant to be, and it's for a reason. And so you just have to know and trust him. And that's something that really grew for me and really solidified my faith and what I believe in. And that was huge.
Well, Kaitlyn, I'll be honest, you have a much bigger heart than I thought you did when I first met you. It's been
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
It's been a privilege to be able to have you on as a guest, and thank you for taking the time, as we just discussed, to share this with me and everyone else. It brought you a smile to my face. Made my week.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Great thing that you're doing.
And no problem, Kaitlyn. And we'll continue the series on the flip side. I imagine the water over there, I'm sure, was no aquafina, but...
No, not quite.
In fact, what did it taste like? What did it taste like over there?
Well, actually, it was bottled water.
There's been times where I just felt like things sounded horrible, but there was amazing feedback from people just saying how much it was able to touch them, and how much it encouraged them, and so that just is a testament to how God can